Welcome to the Leaders Cafe, where leaders discuss the latest trends and issues in leadership, team building, and the future of organizations. Each week, we'll bring you engaging conversations with successful leaders who will share their insights, experiences, and strategies for creating effective teams, navigating change, and driving innovation. So sit back, relax, and join us for a virtual cup of coffee at the Leaders Cafe.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine land. And I am Todd DeVoe.
And I am Dan Scott.
Dan, what's a virtual cup of coffee?
Well, I think you having a cup of coffee with other people virtually. I think that's another way we're gonna go with that. You know, it's having a real cup of coffee with people virtually.
Okay, just making sure, because I mean I'm drinking real coffee, and I was like, man, wonder what virtual coffee would taste like.
It's like Bitcoin. You got to try and you can't do anything with it, but it's there. It's real, apparently.
So last week, I after Leaders Cafe, my son and I got in the car and we drove from Southern California to Flagstaff, Arizona to attend the Overland Expo West. And it was a fantastic event, great show. And one of the things that I learned is that a lot of the people working that expo is a huge thing. I can't even go into how big this thing really was. I can't describe it. But a lot of people working the gates, the things like this, they were volunteers, and and they were putting hours and hours into this show. And so I was thinking, you know what? Everybody probably has worked at some level, either as a volunteer or with volunteers, whether it's in your volunteer organizations such as like the Red Cross or like the Elks Club or these things. So we've all had that experience. But what does it really mean to manage and really get volunteers to do things for free, and what do they get out of it? And so when you're managing a volunteer organization, I always try to give my volunteers value first, understanding that they're here giving me their time, but I want to give them something of value in giving that time. What do you think of volunteer management?
Well, I mean, it goes back for me. You know, you see it in all these different arenas, right? Different organizations, different levels and different scopes and different sizes of organizations that utilize volunteers and for various reasons, obviously. But to be able to get somebody to give their time, and it's not necessarily for free. I mean, what do they get out of it? You know, is it for the individual? It could be just the level of service that they're giving to the people that they're volunteering for to serve. It could be mandated that's free, but it also could be one of those things that they get something out of it, like a free entry to an event or food. They get a dinner, free dinner, whatever. So there's always something there. But you know, the inquiry of being able to get those individuals to give their time in whatever way or fashion that it happens is not easy. But then managing them as trying to where you're going to locate them, how you're going to place them, where they're going to work, how you can get the best value out of them, and what are they getting from? What kind of value are they getting from you? Is important. And I always equate this back to, like, you know, when I grew up in church, you know, and it's a nonprofit. You know, you volunteer your time to be an usher or to be, you know, someone who works the parking lot or provides security or whatever. I mean, there's so many different things that you can utilize your time for, right? And I think volunteer management, just like that, is how do you give that time in such a way that the time given is valuable to not only yourself as giving the time, but the people who are receiving your time, and then the individuals running the event, are they properly allocating the time that's being put out there?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that statement, like I will work for food.
Yeah, you know, it definitely, you know, you just like you can think about this, man. I mean, when you say, hey, you know, I need help this weekend to move something or pack or say whatever. What is the ultimate guide there that people are working towards, right? The end of the day, where they get that meal.
Yeah.
I'll feed you, right? So, you know, that's definitely a thing. I mean, you come to this event, you help me work this event, and we're doing this thing, and you're gonna get fed. So that's
Yeah.
that's a real thing for people. That's a motivator.
It could be, I suppose. It depends on like what you're doing, right? I mean, if it's just going to be, uh, you know, canned soup or something like that, I don't know if that would be the thing that would motivate you to go through things. But I think you're right about as far as like where people are looking for different ways to motivate themselves to be volunteers. I think the person who takes their time out of their day to work for free, they are there specifically to. I think one, they have a service heart, right? I think that starts there. They have in their hearts of hearts, they want to serve people, and that's where it starts off. And when I talk about the idea of giving value to the volunteer, is they will work. I have seen volunteers work harder and longer hours than people getting paid.
And that's true. And you'll see that. But I think a lot of it too is understanding that in that situation, whether whatever, they're giving their time and they're not expecting anything in return. Usually, sometimes people volunteer because they do expect something from their time, whether that be a discount or a free entry or the experience. Getting toward it could be I got to volunteer my time and so much time for a degree. I got to do this this class and I got to volunteer so many hours, and that so they get something out of it. But yeah, they give more of themselves because they're not expecting that that check or that cash.
Right.
So their time isn't equated that way. Sometimes you get in that employee mindset, and it's a very poor mindset, employee mindset. It's never really about what can I do for you. It's like, I know I'm doing this because I'm getting paid to do it.
Right.
So there's in it that level of involvement, or level of passion that comes to it is varies for all these different people. But when it comes down to it, an employee mindset, when you're just an employee, when you think about it just like that, I'm just an employee. Like, I'm not the owner, I'm not the manager, I'm just an employee. It gets very sour, when you're giving your time to somebody and you choose to do that with your mind, with your heart. It's different. You're doing it because you want to, not because you have to. And even those who ultimately have to, like if you get community service because you did something wrong, they end up walking away from that experience better than they walked into it, because they gave their time, whether they wanted to or not. Ultimately, they weren't getting anything out of it other than having to be there. But they gave their time, and giving that time changed who they were. And that level that you give is different.
Well, speaking of that, and speaking about different, I'm going to bring in a good friend of the show, a good friend of ours, Brian Colburn, who has been working with a great program through Cal State Fullerton in Orange County, California, through internship program. And what does Brian get out of the interns, and what do the interns get out of working for Brian? Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm liking the hat, my friend.
Take it off for a second. There you go. Oh, it's got the shine on it too. Man.
Yeah, you gotta put the hat back on, otherwise the camera goes kind of crazy.
It's all right.
Lovely.
It's all right.
It's lovely.
I'm getting used to the new do.
No, it's good.
So Brian, you and I have had over the years, we've talked about volunteer management. I've run some pretty successful volunteer programs at different locations. And I know that you read these two books, right? You read them cover to cover on volunteer management?
Of course, and backwards.
And back. Yeah. There are thick books out there on volunteer management. But I don't think that this is how you used what you should use to manage volunteers. And we'll get into this in a second. So, Brian, what got you to think about using college interns at your organization, and what do you give them first before you ask of them?
The way I was introduced to having volunteers step inside the organization to learn and obviously fill some roles was my niece. She was in a junior college. She had to get X amount of intern hours, and obviously I was low-hanging fruit. She knew me, and we took advantage of that. She actually ended up becoming my very first paid employee, which was cool for the both of us. I think she calls me Uncle Boss now, but that really opened my mind to, wow, this can be helpful for me as a business owner. And I get to, for a short period of time, help mold and shape this young individual who's getting ready to step into, the big mean world of corporate America and or government.
Good. I was waiting
Did I
for
not
Dan to
answer
ask.
your
Oh
question?
no, I have
That's
one.
okay.
I definitely have one. I didn't know if you had a follow-up thought. I'm sorry. Utilizing, and we were just talking about that too. There's a give and take, and there's benefit on both sides of you getting someone to come in and help do the work, and they get so they help you do the work, and then they get school credit or the other. But there's also a level of the commitment that goes along with that, right? There's that level of that I'm doing this because I want to versus I have to do it for a specific reason. So that level of passion that comes with that, level of commitment that comes in there, and the level of and the quality of work that you get, it can ultimately be higher than most employees when you're paying them for whatever job, whatever position. And it depends on the employee, it depends on the person. I'm not saying every employee has got a poor mindset, but when you get that employee mindset, you don't always get that full commitment, right? I'm here because I have to be here to get that paycheck. When you're volunteering your time and you're giving your time, it's a level of person to do that exchange that takes place, and a level of growing that takes place not only mentally but emotionally and mentally, all that stuff that takes place. So what have you seen in the give and take between you bringing these interns on and they're learning, right? They're in the classroom, they're getting this experience in the real life, but so they're also gaining that experience in the classroom and that grade that they need, and the level that you get from them versus potentially a paid individual.
A few things I started doing this last semester, the semester that just ended, they graduated 3 days ago, was I kind of survey them when they come in to the studio. What do you like to do? What are you good at? What is an absolute, I'll quit if I ask you to do this? And I try to fill that time with stuff they think they're good at and like doing, and stuff the studio needs done. And I try to maintain a 50-50 balance because, in reality, it is unpaid labor for me in lieu of credit through the school. However, I want to make this an enjoyable experience. I kind of judge how we treated them and how impactful they were to the industry by, do they ask me for a job at the end of their internship? Do they love being here so much they want to come work here? And that's been, I don't know, my head kind of blew up a little bit like Todd's. I was kind of proud of that, that we are creating a fun environment, but with deadlines, goals, and they need to get their work done. One of the other things I did was I created a wiki for the interns. If an intern came to ask me a question, I created an FAQ, if you will, or a page with documentation on it. So the next batch of interns come in, they get this link to this wiki before they come for their first day. They can take it upon themselves to review stuff, but if they have questions, check the wiki, which doesn't take up as much time from me and or my staff. The third thing I did was I created a survey on the way out. And I tell them, I'm not going to do the interview with your teacher to complete your program if you do not do my survey. But it's basically built around what they thought coming in, what they experienced, what was lacking, what we could be doing better as an organization, how they felt we treated our customers. So we're getting this almost disinterested third party information on what we're doing here so we can become better. That information's, dumped into a spreadsheet. Todd, I love my spreadsheets. And we prioritize some deficiencies to improve upon that next semester and, next year for our customers. That's been extremely helpful. And it's time consuming. It's a little laborious. However, the information we're getting is invaluable and will continue to improve our work environment and customer service.
I think that's critical there too, is if you want to see how your volunteer program is working, you have to have data to back it up. Now you could have anecdotal evidence of, people showing up to the thing and doing the work or whatever, and you go, okay, it looks great. But to having that empirical data that shows that the program's working, they're getting something out of it. And again, I go back to the beginning of what I was saying, Brian, before you joined us, that I believe that you need to be giving to the volunteer first before you ask them to give to you. And whether, like Dan was saying before, whether it's the free meal at the end of the day or whatever the situation is, even if they're not asking for it, even if they don't expect it, that you should be giving back to them first because they're giving so much to you. And I've had a couple of very great, I should say, volunteer programs that were developed. So much so that after I left the organization, that volunteers are still thriving. And one of the two things I did that I think made a difference is one, I treated them like employees, not like second-class citizens. They weren't the others, right? They had a job description. They had time they had to check in, time they had to check out, that were expectations of their duties. All that was written out for them when they signed up. They got their onboarding packet, which this is before wiki things existed. Probably today we probably would have made that the wiki for them. And thank you, Brian, for sharing that, by the way. If you guys don't know what a wiki is, Brian would be happy to explain it to you. So creating these things like this, these places for them to go to feel that they have information and know what's going on, and then what their expectations are. I think that's critical to running a good volunteer. Not that there are others, these are people that they get the crap jobs when they come into the place, that they're going to be mopping or doing filing, which I think is ridiculous. They should be getting some stuff out of it.
I understand the statement of being a ridiculous duty. However, in my opinion, it teaches them, hey, look, if work was a good time, if we got to go to work and just have such a great time, we'd pay to get in at the door. But it's not a good time, and that's why they pay us to be here. So I try to balance with what they like, what we need. And yeah, I think one of the most undesirable jobs inside the studio here is transcribing audio and vetting transcription. However, it's a good skill. It lets me know how attentive they are, how focused they can remain for a long period of time. But it also, they get to learn from the content that they're transcribing. We've had awesome guests, awesome business owners, awesome leaders in here. And I've found myself at the board running a show, taking notes, because the interaction between the host and the guest was just educational for me. So I think having them do some of the crap jobs, if you will, is part of life. We don't like to do our own laundry, but we do it. We'd rather not wash our own dishes, but we do it because that's life and we have to. And like you said, treating them like an adult or like an employee, 100%. They come to every staff meeting, even though they're not going to contribute in the beginning. Towards the end, they're contributing. I start out with letting some of the employees that I have manage them on a few tasks or a small project. That allows my employee to get some supervision and or managerial skills under their belt. And then we do a one-on-one and I coach them into how they might have handled it, how I would have handled it, what went right, what went wrong, and try to grow them as a manager. And that's easier to do when I have interns. We have a small team, and it's not like I can have Joey manage Jeanette on a project. They're both busy with their work. But this gives me the opportunity to let them step up and manage. One other thing I do towards the end of their internship, I give the intern a project they are responsible for. Now, they're not massive projects, and they get to work with either Jeanette or Joey to accomplish it. So they get to step up into a supervisory or managerial role for a little bit as well. And I try to bring them full circle because, you know, people say there are born leaders, and I disagree with that. Leadership is such a dynamic topic, and there's different leadership styles and different leadership skills. And as we grow and mature, our managerial styles change, and theirs will as well. But if they get to experience how I manage them, they get to experience how one of my employees manages them, and then they get to turn around and manage one of my employees. It kind of opens their eyes up to, you know, some of the vast differences.
I think too. I mean, I want to clarify a couple things. One is, in my opinion, this is my opinion. There's really no crap jobs out there unless you're a plumber. I mean, I think there's less desirable work that could be done, but I think it can all be a learning experience, and whether you enjoy it or not, you won't ever really know unless you do it, right? And there's people who enjoy going through transcriptions and editing and doing all that stuff. I'm not one of them, but I know there are people out there who enjoy doing it. I'm not a big guy who likes to do who's a very, I want to be, but I'm not there yet. I mean, if you compare me in organization to Brian in organization, you're going to see a big gap, right? And it's not that for lack of wanting it or not enjoying it. It's just doing it. So, and learning how to do it as I go. So I think too, you get to learn the balances of, you know, they're really good at this and they enjoy that. They're not so good at this, but they need to learn it. And how much time do you put on, you know, I know, you know, as far as being a leader and a manager, even you have to pick and choose where you put people and how much time you put them in one specific area so that they can either learn or do really well at it. And there are people that, and I think as a volunteer manager, someone who comes in, they're depending on me to put them in the place that they will do the most good, right? So you want to capitalize on what they enjoy doing. If they're really good at doing all that transcription and that's something they like doing, then yeah, they're going to spend more of their time there. But you know, and then I can move them around as I see fit. Otherwise, if they're just anything else, I mean, there may be people come in who are fantastic at computers, and that's what they enjoy doing, and that's what you need. But there are people who need to be more tactical and hands-on stuff that you can put them. So I think it's a lot of that too, and it's balancing the levels of where you put them when you put them there, as it relates to their growth in whatever they're doing, and then how much value they receive versus what we receive as well from those who are benefiting from that volunteer time.
You know, Todd knows this story. I had the awesome pleasure of attending a leadership summit in Huntington Beach, California, where Daniel Pink was the presenter, 8 hours of Daniel Pink. And I walked away from this one-day program going, wow, I understand the importance of giving my employees some autonomy. I now understand my reluctance in doing that because I'm the type of guy where I walk into a new place. These are the rules. This is the stuff I shouldn't do. How tight can I walk that fine line between? I'm a bad employee. And I projected that on my employees. And I'm like, that's unfair. So we had a meeting and I said, look, I'm going to give you guys complete autonomy. If you have to be here to get your tasks done, be here. If you can do it from home, do it from home. If you want to get up and work for an hour, then go to the gym and come back and shower and get ready for school and go to school and come back and work for a couple hours and take a break and eat dinner. As long as the work's getting done, I don't care when you put your time in. Excuse me. That's really rare. When you put your time in, as long as the work's getting done. I usually don't even have this phone in here. And in a panic, I let them loose. I opened the door and they're taking their laptops home. The quality of work improved. The amount of time it took them to complete a task decreased. So I was able to put a little more on their plate. Both of them kind of got to a point where they're like, hey, this isn't for me. I need to be here. I need a little more structure in my life, which was huge for me, understanding that they were mature enough to go, yeah, I'm going to screw myself here. But when interns come in, I give them that same autonomy. If you need to be here, be here. If you don't, you can work from home, because a lot of the stuff we do, they can work from home as long as they have a computer. And I don't think they're expecting that, and they're really weirded out by it. And most of them don't take advantage of it. Some of them do. And typically those are the people that are like, yeah, I'm working from home today, but they're going to their other job and or going, working on school. Hey, it's finals week. I'm not doing nothing. It's a really weird dynamic. But I grew as a leader. They, in my opinion, matured as employees. So it was good. It was a good takeaway for me, even though I was terrified to do it.
I think we grow as individuals, too. Sorry, Todd. I think we grow as individuals too. And as you did, you were taking in professional development, personal growth, and you heard from someone who knows that area, and you took that in and you went and applied it. And I think you benefited from that. They benefited from that, and everybody gets to grow at the end. So I'll turn it back over to you, Todd. Sorry about that.
Number 7, right,
Todd? I was going to say the same thing. And what was that, Brian?
Number 7, right? Sharpen the saw.
Number 7, sharpen the saw. Yep, right here. I put down Brian's website, citradio.com. This is his website, but he has a couple other things that he's doing as well. Let's talk about sharpen the saw here for a second, and specifically as a leader that is going to manage volunteers. And there's a lot of nonprofit organizations out there. But not just that. I mean, we all at one point, well, I shouldn't say we all, at least I know people in this room that we're talking right now have, but people in general have probably been part of organizations, whether it's a religious organization, the Critter Club, as Anna Cave calls it, the Elks, the Moose, the whatever, those type of service or organizations, Rotary clubs. When you're there and you're leading volunteers as a volunteer, I think that becomes interesting as well. Let's talk about that dynamic really quick, and then I want to get into some of the stuff that you're doing, Brian, as far as coaching goes. What does it take to? So let me rewind here a second to get my thoughts together. So in organizations, like we just talked about, there's always that 80-20 rule, which is like out of the 100% of people that are part of your organization, only 20% do the work. And out of that 20, you do the 80-20 rule again of those that are super dedicated, and those become your volunteer leaders, right? Those are the ones that step up and go join the board or become that leader. And in some cases, your basic volunteer lasts about 2 years of good, solid work before they fall into that 80%. Of the people that are on the list but aren't involved. What can you do? And Daniel, this goes to you as well. What can you do to keep the motivation going for those that are volunteers, those that are volunteer leaders, and how do you work that dynamic of the 80-20 diagram? Go.
I'll let you go first, Brian.
The Pareto principle, that 80-20, is so in my mind. And I learned it back when I was a contract sales rep. And I had read that the top 20% of my customers are going to be responsible for 80% of my revenue. And that 80% of my customer base are going to be my biggest headaches. And when I saw that in real life, I learned really quick that I need to cut the cancer out. If you're a horrible customer, in my opinion, you consume a lot of my time and you're not picking up what I'm laying down, then you need to go away so I have more time to dedicate to that top 20%. And I think that volunteer organizations can really learn from that, because you're going to have that bottom of the 80% causing the majority of your headaches. And I would rather have a strong organization and ask them to leave if I cannot mentor and foster them and grow them into what they need to be or what I feel they need to be. I would rather them just go away. And the rest of that 80% is going to be better for it. The organization is going to be better for it. And when you flip that coin to the top 20% and then the top 20 of that 20, those are the people that are getting abused over, and not physically abused, but jobs just get dumped on them because the leadership knows it'll get done, but they get burned out really, really quick. And you don't want to lose them. So as a leader, you need to foster that 98% of that top 20 and grow them into the top 20% of the 20%. I think I said that right. Does that make sense? Yeah. I got lost in my math. I didn't have a spreadsheet in front of me. I don't know where 98 came from. Anyway.
Got it.
Good. Daniel, your turn.
Well, I know we're coming up on our time. Today. Yeah. I think honestly, Todd, I think me and you're going to talk after this, and I think we could do a whole show on this, but I think, and I don't think it's about motivation. I think it's about inspiration. Motivation is fleeting. And I experience this all the time. Be really motivated one minute, and next minute I'm like, I just want to go to bed. So it's about inspiration. What inspires them to potentially go to make themselves better, whether that be a conference, a class, a read a book, go to school, whatever it may be. So we have to, as leaders and as managers and as business owners and whatever, to inspire them to want to do these things. And how does that inspiration come? It comes from helping identify to them why it's beneficial to them. And I think we get stuck in that employee mindset. There's so many people that are there, and I've worked with them. And as I'm getting my degrees or getting my certifications or going to, getting raises, getting promoted, watching them and telling, hey, you should do this. You should look at this. Go do this class. Go do this. Go back to this. Take this course. Go to this conference. And they're like, nah, I don't want to do it. But they're never going to grow. They're never going to. So how much time do I need to invest in them when that does? None. But when you get somebody that says, and you say, listen, you should go to this conference, and they go to that conference and they come back and that was amazing. What else can I do? That's the person you want to invest in and put some inspiration into. Give them those books, give them those conferences, tell them those classes to go, put your time into them. And I think that's where, as right now, everybody in this that is sitting right here, anyways, we're all there. We have the employee mindset, like, if my job doesn't pay for it, I'm not going to go to a class, or I'm not going to go to this conference, or I'm not going to. I've been there. But you know what I did? I paid for it out of my own freaking pocket because that's what I felt I needed to do to grow.
Right.
And I paid for that. I paid for that plane ticket, that conference fee, that course fee, and taking that vacation time from work because they weren't going to pay for it. But I felt that it was an investment in myself. And I can tell you right now, because I know these people, they're still doing the same things, the same job, making the same money. But we still get people. There's people that, and you know this, Todd, and I'm dealing with this right now. Is that when you have a business, you have a customer base, and is it the right customer base? Are they in the right mindset? Do they want to grow? The people that you work with, do they want to grow? Do they want to inspire others? Do they want to motivate? The clients that you go after, are they the right clients for you? Like the people that you hire on, are they the right people you're bringing on? Are you attracting the right people? That all comes from your growth, your change, that comes from me and my ability to then say, like Brian said, I got to cut them out. I got to keep going forward. And the only way to keep going forward is to pull the people that are pulling me back or holding me still or draining my time and my energy and pushing them away. And,
in the Marine Corps, we have the saying, who motivates the motivator? And that has just rung true. Todd, you're aware, I got some devastating news this week, and I looked at my calendar. All I did, I wanted to go home and just drink. That's what I wanted to do. That's not the right behavior. It's not the right path. And I looked at my calendar. I still had 2 very important meetings I could have postponed because everybody would understand. But I went outside. I punched a tree. I yelled at the moon. I did what I had to do to get some of those emotions out so I could come back in, sit down, and be professional in front of this very camera and have these online meetings. And why? It's because this is my business. I truly care about it, about its employees, about upholding our mission statement, and there's no one else to do it. So I have to do what I have to do, put my big boy pants on, and go to work when work needs to be done. It doesn't matter how I'm feeling. It doesn't matter what's going on in life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you let those outside influences bring your own level of motivation down, how can you lead a group? You know, you have to put a smile on your face and be professional and get the job done, especially when you're running a small business or an entrepreneur trying to start a startup. That was hard for me to say. Trying to start a startup. It's you. But on that same note, on the weekend, every Friday I go home going, I need to get this done, and it's all work related stuff. And every once in a while I have to say no. I need to go walk until my legs are sore. I need to go do something and just decompress and put work out of my head. So Sunday I can get everything done I needed to get done over the weekend. But we've got to take care of ourselves.
We took a little bit of a left turn. Took a little bit of a left turn here at the end. Trying to bring that back into motivating our volunteers. But at the end of the day, you have to motivate yourself sometimes before you can go out and motivate those that are working for you, either
Absolutely.
as an intern or as a volunteer. One last thing. I know we're way over time, but that's okay. The idea of, and the three of us are part of a group where we hold each other accountable, and not just hold each other accountable. That's one thing, but we also help each other through those hard times, those thick times. Having a group like this, I think is critical for everyone. I think you should find that. You should find a group or create that group. Brian, talk a little bit about this accountability project that you're putting together.
You know, there's a lot of programs out there that frankly are too expensive for my blood. And I've been trying for a while to start up an accountables group to where we discuss our issues in business, our triumphs in business, our big projects or main goals, and we share them with each other and we follow up. How's that going? What did you accomplish this week? We meet weekly. It's 1 hour video conference, roughly 1 hour. And we kind of really hold our feet to the fire. And there's nothing worse than a little peer pressure from people you admire and trust. That, I mean, Todd can look at me and just using vulgarity ask me, what the hell? What were you thinking? And I'm going to be like, dude, you're right. He can hold my feet to the fire. Dan, I hope I'm building that relationship with you. And you, me, we need to hold each other to the standards we're setting for ourselves. Todd's not setting the standards. I'm setting these standards. They're motivating me and holding me accountable to accomplish the goals I want to accomplish so my business can grow in the manner and direction I want it to grow. And it's growing, which is awesome. We added a couple new people. We added 2 new people this week, and we want to kind of keep it going. But a lot of these organizations out there are like $2,500 a quarter or $50,000 a year. And, you know, my money's not that green. So there wasn't one for small business owners or entrepreneurs with a lighter wallet. So that's what I created. That's in an essence. And you both are helping with the development of this program. And I thank you for that.
Absolutely. All right, Brian. Well, we are definitely at the end of our show, a little bit over, but it's okay. And I do appreciate you and look forward to talking to you soon. Daniel, I'll let you close it out.
Well, you know, like we said, we are over. Apologize for that. But overall, the information that we were getting is amazing. Thank you to Brian for coming on and talking to us. Keep your eye out for the Leaders Cafe events, in-person events that are going to be coming to you. You know, that is what we're trying to do here, bringing it to your area. Reach out to us if it's something you'd like to host in your area. We got New York coming up, Dallas, Fort Worth area is coming up. We have Irvine. We're going to do it down in Irvine, Southern California, and then eventually we'll work it down my way in Monterey. So look for those dates, look for those engagements, and if it's something you want to be involved in, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us here at Leaders Cafe. Here, please hit the like, comment, reach out to us. But go to the EM Network and subscribe to the newsletter. That's important, and you get a lot of good information that way. So we are Leaders Cafe, and we will talk to you next time.
Till next time, stay safe and stay hydrated.